back to the adventures of the Florida Powerboat Club. Stu Jones along with our producer Ryan McCoy. We're hanging out in the man cave. That's the Pompano Beach Studio, and we're midway through the feature coverage of the Bahamas Poker Run 2024 edition, our longest running poker run with the club. We started way back in 1992. So just a quick recap of where we're at. Remember, in our last episode, we took a total of 13 registered teams across the Gulf Stream from Fort Lauderdale. We departed from Port Everglades, and we got great helicopter coverage of everybody because the seas were calm, the sun was out, and we had a fantastic crossing over to Bimini. We then settled in at the Big Game Club where we cleared customs and had a bite to eat and headed straight out because our motto was seize the day, and that's exactly what we did. Honeymoon Harbor was where all the action was, where we managed to feed and hang out with those lovely stingrays on a beautiful sandy beach, and then continued northbound back up to Bimini and checked into the Resorts World Bimini for the night where we had Rockstar docking. Guys, it's always good to come here midweek, and that's exactly what we did. Well, that's where we left off, and we've got plenty more action as we go island hopping through the Bahamas. But before we get started, let's thank our sponsors. Our presenting sponsor is Mercury Racing. Our 2024 series sponsors include Adrenaline Powerboats, Cigarette Racing Team, Concept Boats, Cortez Cove Marina, Deep Impact Custom Boats, Fountain Powerboats, Iconic Marine Group, Midnight Express Powerboats, Marine Technology Inc., Myco Trailers, Nortec High Performance Boats, Performance Boat Center, SD Marine Group, and Wozencraft Finance and Insurance. And to keep things organized, we're going to call this Day 2 in Bimini as we're now checking out drone coverage of North Bimini. And you've got all that construction up at the north end of the island, and that means there's new cool stuff coming to the island. But let's focus on what's here now and today, and that's Resorts World Bimini, where everyone got checked in the night before. And there's that Rockstar docking I was talking about, where everybody got a slip right up in front by the casino with a close walk to the front lobby to get checked in. And I think what we're capturing here now is the beginning of Day 2, where everybody is getting on board. As you can see, mostly center consoles on this event. That seems to be the standard protocol now for these Bahamas runs. Everybody wants to bring their multi-engine center console. Of course, we still have a few hardcore stern drive guys like Mike Liardi with his 38-foot cigarette Top Gun. You can see it tucked away in the corner there. So let's talk a little bit about today's plan, and that's just a local play day. Remember that we already went to Honeymoon Harbor on the day prior, and we had a great feeding frenzy there with all of the stingrays. So today it's going to be the concrete ship, or otherwise known as the Sapona, which is a landmark here in Bimini. Just a quick shot of some of the boats that we've got on the run. As you could see, this MTI 42 Quad Mercury Racing 500Rs. They've got all the hardware and gingerbread on this boat to make for a great Bahamas run. And I know that my son Tyler has got his eyeballs on this boat because he'd love to have a ride on this 42 MTI, so stay tuned. He's probably going to get that ride a little later in the show. So today's plan is pretty casual. Remember that seize the day is our motto. So that means get out, enjoy your boats, and enjoy Bimini for what it has to offer. Of course, Resorts World Bimini has plenty to offer here on site, but we'll save that for the evening. Great restaurants and some awesome pools. And there off in the distance, you can see Virgin Cruises, the Scarlet Lady, one of the very popular cruise lines that calls here at Bimini. I believe they have 2 lines altogether that come here on a regular basis. There's Jimmy Harrison, FJ Propellers, and his 39-foot Nortec. Not a part of the run, but just came over here for the weekend with the local Fort Lauderdale Yacht Club. And there's a friendly sight. That fuel tanker reminds all of us that there's going to be a fresh shipment of fuel coming into Bimini today. So that's good news for all of us with these big thirsty outboards. Today's destination is going to be around to the Sapona first, where we're going to enjoy some calm water conditions, and that's not always the case here in Bimini. Riding on board with Eric and Ivy Ducro on their 39-foot Nortec, which has become a very popular model for many club members who like to attend these Bahamas events. And this is what you want to see when you arrive at the Sapona. Nobody else is here, not a single boat, and look how calm it is. So this is an ideal situation if you want to go snorkeling here, because it's really an easy swim to and from the boat when you have these kind of favorable conditions. It can be really rough sometimes, a little bumpy, and a lot of current. So you have to be careful when you come here and be sure that you're anchoring as close to the vessel as possible so it's an easy swim to and from. Of course, you can go right into the belly of the ship, and you can see some of the ruins. The ship has been here since the early 20s, we're told. And the reason it is made out of concrete is because it was built during World War I, when the United States war effort was focusing on steel production for all of the military equipment. So they had to make ships out of concrete for a period of time. They did float, and this one did float at one time, but not for very long. It washed up here in a major storm. At the time, it was used as a speakeasy or a vessel for storing alcohol and liquor during Prohibition. Of course, this was a playground for the rich and famous way back then. And our producer tells me it was 1926 that it washed up here on this sort of sandy shoal area, about 10 feet deep here. But you can see that it is really an ideal playground. And if you come here during the week on a nice day, you pretty much own it. And that means being able to swim freely to and from the ship and get inside the belly of the ship. You can see some of the wildlife. There's a lot of fish around all sides of the ship, especially off by the stern where the old propeller is. Some of the more daring and adventurous of us can actually climb up on the ship. You'll see my son Tyler and Maxwell often do this, and there's a lot of the younger kids who are a little more agile can get up on the ship safely, and whoop, there he goes. Yep, not his first rodeo. But it's always a lot of fun to be able to do stuff like that. And I would urge anyone who tries this to be an able-bodied person who's able to climb freely, not something that you do under the influence after you've had a few drinks. If you look around, this is basically a lot of rusty steel and rebar and concrete, and is not a place to mess around. Tyler's done it a few times, so he's an old pro. And once again, got to thank my son Tyler for all of the great footage, both drone and in water. Looks like we're going to break away here from the Sapona, and I think that was one of the best visits to the Sapona that we've had in recent years. Has a lot to do with just being lucky on the weather, but also being here midweek when the crowds aren't here. This was the only other boat that showed up while we were there. And I hope he just follows us around for the whole weekend, because it's a beautiful Riva, and it looks like he's got a fun crew on board. And it's only halfway through day 2, and we've already checked off another box for our Bahamas adventure. And we're going to move it on up to the north end of Bimini now for the second part of day 2. This is going to be the afternoon raft-up party, or whatever you want to call it. I guess it's a beach party of sorts, because this is the North Beach on the east side of North Bimini. This is an island that's less traveled. In fact, this beach is rarely visited because a lot of people travel to the opposite side of the island. That beach is currently being built on by a lot of beautiful new homes, so that seems to be changing the backdrop of that stretch of beach. It used to be private. It's no longer private. It's really kind of difficult to enjoy. Over here on this side, we can totally enjoy this beach because there's really nobody here. You've got a shallow, soft, sandy bottom. There's a beautiful beach that sticks up there. When the tide goes out, the beach gets even bigger. And it's just beautiful, white, soft sand. A kind of a paradise, really, if you think about it. And I wanted everybody to experience this on North Bimini because this is a great place to just come and hang out and chill for the entire afternoon. And that's just what we did. And somebody managed to gather up enough conch shells for this little FPC tribute on the beach. And this was just a fun way to wrap up a fantastic day 2 here in Bimini with all of our friends from Florida Powerboat Club. And safely back at Protected Harbor here at the Bimini Bay Marina, which is part of the Resorts World Bimini. Everyone settled in for the night, and I think that was just a very, very productive day for all of us who went out on the boats. I don't think you could have done much more on that beautiful Thursday. And so that's going to wrap up our second day of activities here in Bimini, at least for the daytime. Once everybody gets settled in for the night, we're going to be heading out into town. We've got a plan of action and lots of great restaurants, not only on property here at Resorts World, but if you feel like adventuring out, you get a golf cart, which I highly recommend because the Bahamians are so pleasant in their nature. It's a very safe island to travel abroad onto, and there's probably 5 or 6 or maybe even 7 decent little restaurants that you can find that are really enjoyable to visit, and you're going to get some Bahamian culture and some Bimini food. Kind of a cool way to spend your last night in Bimini, so let's check it out. First of all, let's talk about the golf carts. They're available right on property at the Big Game Club and as well at Resorts World Bimini. We get most of our carts right at the Dockmaster's office at Resorts World. So we're just going to point out a few of the sites along the way. There's another one on the left that is very popular for getting fresh conch with a click. But you've got Alistown and Baileytown and Porgytown, 3 little towns along that stretch of island, and we're going to visit all 3. And this is where we ended up. It's called the Anchorage. It's in Alistown at the Blue Water Resort, and it's a very quiet little restaurant. A grand total of 2 employees. That's the kitchen chef and the manager, Betty, who we've known for a long time, and she allowed us to do a family-style dinner, and that included some steak and seafood and some lobster for a dinner party of about 15 or 16 of us, and she even allowed us to tend the bar ourselves. What a great night it was. Day 3 now. It's Friday morning, and that means it's time to load up the boats and start heading out eastbound. We generally like to get rolling about 9:30 in the morning, give us 2.5 hours to get to Chub Key. It's about 100 miles to get to Chub, just a little less actually, across the Bahama Bank. But we've got a long idle to get out of North Bimini. And in the early stages of our departure, we're probably going to encounter a lot of inbound traffic. Those are the boats coming over the Gulf Stream from Miami and Fort Lauderdale for these groups that are going to be spending the weekend. But we've already had all our fun, so we're going to keep on going. But meanwhile, let's enjoy the ride as we depart, because there's going to be a lot of people coming in, maybe some people we know. There's that big Midnight Express, looks like a 52 Vitesse rolling in here. But just a parade of boats arriving in from the Gulf Stream, and it's just nice to know that we've had our fun in Bimini, and we're going to continue on to some quieter islands, and we're not going to be really encountering these big crowds that are going to be at Bimini for the entire weekend. Riding on board once again on our 390 Nortec Team Bad Dog with Eric Ducrow at the helm. Another Nortec 390 riding alongside. That's David and Brenda Giles in their Nortec 390 Sport. It's powered by Quad Mercury Racing 450Rs. And I think the idea here is to just get a comfortable cruise speed that everyone is really comfortable with. Because you're crossing the Bahama Bank, you don't really need to set any speed records. We like to maintain about 50 miles per hour for these cruising segments because it gives everybody, good fuel economy and really just allows everybody to stay together for the most part. Some people kind of beat their own path and go off on their own course. I'm not sure why. We're doing this as a group, and we try to maintain a straight heading and keep everybody as close together as possible. One thing that is kind of cool when you're crossing over the Gulf Stream in these open waters is that you can see the weather quite well. There's really no obstructions whatsoever. So if you do encounter some cloudy skies, or if you see a big rain shower somewhere forward, you can always go around it. That's the beauty of operating in these open waters. And it's quite common for us to change our heading and find a big thick cloud and say, well, I don't want to go through that. There might be lightning in there, and veer off and go in a different direction. But you're always going to be able to correct and get back to your destination. And so we quite often do that. Chub Key now in our sights. It was about a 2-hour ride directly eastbound to Chub Key. And the reason that we go there is because it's a good place to stop for a little bit of fuel and a nice lunch. And of course, they've got a great pool. Chub Key is a beautiful island that is now going to be private going forward. So I believe this was one of our final opportunities to visit this island and really enjoy the facilities that are here. There were some of our friends from Fort Myers in a Nortec 45 making their way back to homeland. And the yachts here at Chub Key are just fascinating. I mean, there's some really big, beautiful yachts and a lot of sport fishing boats here as well. This is a sport fishing capital of the Bahamas. Really, it's a hub of the Bahamas, and there's fishing in all directions. So very popular with anglers who regularly fish. So you have to join the club now to be a part of Chub Key. I believe there's an annual membership of several thousands of dollars. Maybe it's $50,000 that was rumored. And then, you know, various fees according to what you want to do once you're here, such as docking or renting cabins or renting hotel rooms, that sort of thing. But for some people, this is really just an ideal destination, especially the hardcore anglers. I can't think of a better place to be headquartered if you have a big sport fishing boat and a crew that loves to go out fishing on a daily basis. But for us, it's just a stopover today. You can see that we got some nice slips here on these floating docks, not too far away from the clubhouse where we're going to have lunch. You're about to see all of that because they've really done a fantastic job on the grounds here at Chub Key. It's a small island, but it's 100% privately owned. It does have an airstrip, so you can fly in and out of here. And it is really a hub in the sense that from here you can go in any direction. You can go south down to Nassau, New Providence. You can go further over to east, Spanish Wells and Eleuthera, or you can travel to the north here and go up into the Abacos. So it really is kind of a turning point for a lot of boats that are finding other destinations here in the Bahamas. And at the center of the property is what I consider to be the jewel, and that's the Chub Key Clubhouse with these lavish grounds, beautifully manicured and landscaped, and of course this massive beach on the backside. And it's the clubhouse that has hotel rooms as well as a beautiful restaurant. I've always wanted to spend at least one night here with the club, but that's always difficult to do because you have quite a wide selection of rooms, and it's just kind of hard to plan a single night stay on some of these events. They really were ready for us, welcomed us with our own private menu for the lunch stop, and a lot of these items were pre-ordered to make it easy for everyone. And with that in mind, you know, that gave us more time to enjoy the pool, and you can see it is just a beautiful pool. It's got a swim up grotto bar, and if you don't like the pool, you probably want to try the beach. Well, it's just about 3 steps away. And my biggest challenge every time I come here is getting everybody back out of the pool to get back on the boats to head for Atlantis. It's just one of those places that you just don't want to leave. And there was one experience we had a year earlier where the seas were rough and we couldn't leave, and with a completely unscheduled stopover, we had a lot of us trying to scrounge around and rent villas or rent hotel rooms, or some of us stayed on boats, and somebody even rented a workboat, like a ship, and had a bunch of cabins on board. So that worked out okay for that one time. But in the meanwhile, I just wanted everybody to see what a beautiful island it is. And I don't think membership is an option for us as a cruising club to just stop here for a lunch stopover. But somehow in the future, if the club management makes an exception, I'd love to be able to keep coming here to Chub Key if they'll let us. Well, now that we all know that this is obviously a piece of paradise, it's a little bittersweet for me to say that, you know, this is a place that we're not going to be able to go to very much with our groups because we're not private members. And I've enjoyed coming to Chub Key for over 30 years, and I think that it's currently at its best state ever with the construction and some of the improvements that they've done here. But it really just is a piece of paradise. And for those of you who do have the financial wherewithal to have a membership here and be able to come here and enjoy the property, I think it's a great investment, because I don't think it gets much better than this. So we're going to have to say goodbye to Chub Key for this time, and we're going to be getting back onto the boats for the final leg of today's run, which will be about 40 miles to Nassau. And we're back on board making that final trek now to Nassau as we see the fuel ship one more time. That's the ship that makes its way around the Bahamas. It's always a pleasant sight to see the fuel ship come in. It's going to be plenty of fuel for everybody, and that means we're going to be able to get home. So let's talk about these amazing conditions that we have here today. It's rare, trust me. It's in the middle of summer, light winds, calm seas. We're going to have a beautiful crossing. It's only 40 miles, but we are out in what they call the tongue of the ocean here, where all of the deep water that surrounds the Bahamas kind of all comes together. You've got the Bahamas Bank meeting the Northwest Channel, and you've got just a lot of moving ocean water and very deep, 7,000, 8,000, some places 10,000 foot depths. And that can create quite a stir and quite rough seas at times, but that's not going to happen today. And typically in the summer months, you're going to get these beautiful days where it's extremely calm. It's going to be easy to cruise in any direction. So we're happy to see those kind of conditions today. And I know that means that everyone's going to push the throttles forward. And there goes Roger Oars. He's gone. Looks like he's going to be the first one to Atlantis today. And here's what it looks like riding on board with Roger Oars and his crew on the 42-foot MTI. Never enough HP. That's right, not enough horsepower. Well, he's got 4 brand new Mercury Racing 500Rs, so that's 2,000 horsepower, but it is an MTI. It does fit one more motor, so if he wants to have 500 more, he could easily do that. But nonetheless, it's a beautiful day for cruising. I don't think you're going to get better shots than this as you look across these beautiful blue waters. And at those kind of speeds, it was only about a 40-minute ride to Atlantis as we're pulling into Paradise Island, the lighthouse over on the port side. Remember that Paradise Island is part of Nassau. It's a separate island, and it is home to Atlantis, the beautiful Atlantis Marine Resort. And while many of you have stayed in Nassau before, of course there are many resorts there, it is Atlantis that has everything all in a one-stop shopping with 4 magnificent towers and a first-class marina. So it really doesn't get much better than that, guys. You got everything you need right on your doorstep and a wide variety of lodging. Our sales group here with the FPC office can usually give you your choice of whether you want to stay in the Reef Tower or the Coral Tower or the Royal Tower, which is the one you're looking at right now, which has the bridge across between the 2 towers. So nonetheless, it's a great place to visit and stay with lots to do for all ages, and we've got a 3-day agenda planned here. Special thanks to the Atlantis Marina dock staff for being very attentive and on the dock to greet all of us. Of course, they bring their golf carts up to help you get your luggage offloaded and get everybody up to the cabs and off to their front lobbies to get checked in. It's a bit of a process to get checked into Atlantis because the marina is not really easy walking distance from some of the lobbies of like the Royal Tower or the Reef Tower, any of those. It's kind of a hike, so you want to take a taxi, get to your lobby. Nice shot of the weather here. Look at that storm brewing over Nassau. As you can see there, the Nassau to the right, Paradise Island to the left, and looks like just the edge of the storm passing by the east end of the island. Well, once again, Tyler has got the drone up, so I think we'll just let this roll and let you guys enjoy all the visuals and the scenery of what's a beautiful resort at Atlantis. And it's been another exciting day, rounding up day 3 here as the night settles at Atlantis Marina. Of course, there's plenty of great restaurants, and everyone seems to be out having fun. And for me, it was the lobster, and taking my son Tyler out for a father and son dinner. I thought he did a pretty good job with the drone today. Time to feed him. Day 4 of our great adventure kept us at Atlantis, and that alone is an adventure, and you're about to see why. Many of us have been to Atlantis before, but how many of us have really gotten a chance to see the entire property? I think it would take you multiple days to really cover all 4 corners of the property. Of course, we're looking at the Royal Tower there, but it's these aquariums that they have throughout Atlantis that really sets it apart from many other resorts around the world. And there really are a world-class aquarium. There's not only one, but 2 aquariums. The first one was established years ago, 25 years ago, when they built Atlantis, which was originally a Merv Griffin resort. And it was built by Saul Kirshner, who's a South African who had already built some kind of a really cool resort in South Africa that was world acclaimed. And he brought that same styling and architecture and the whole concept of a family-style destination resort to Atlantis, and has done a great job with it over the years. Of course, Saul Kirshner has passed on more recently, but the legacy continues, and Atlantis is a sight to behold. Looking down at this aquarium, which really you can see these aquariums from so many different places, not only above ground but also below ground. The water parks are exciting, a lot of fun. Doesn't seem to be a lot of activity right now at this very moment. That's because it rained earlier, and their safety guidelines require that everybody gets out of the pools whenever it rains, I guess due to the possibility of lightning and thunder. So things look kind of quiet here right now as we look down on the giant water slide. Some of the species that they have in their aquarium, one of them in particular is this small-tooth sawfish. Not easy to say, but it is an endangered or critically endangered species. And one thing that I learned from our producer is that the small-tooth sawfish, being endangered, they've only been able to reproduce this particular species in captivity here at Atlantis, the only place in the world that has been able to reproduce this species. So that's good news for those of us who are concerned about endangered species. This is the famous tunnel which goes off of the Coral Tower. This is the original tunnel aquarium that they built 25 or so years ago as that giant shark goes over top of the tunnel. But you don't have to be a fish enthusiast or an outdoor adventurist to enjoy this. And there is the small-tooth sawfish with a very big mouth, but I think that they seem very similar in many ways to the nurse shark, maybe a cross between a nurse shark and a stingray. Of course, plenty of Florida spiny lobsters throughout the aquarium, and I think you could spend hours. This is the more recent aquarium. It's called the Dig, and the Dig seems to have a lot of things that the original aquarium does not have, but you could spend a couple of hours or several hours really just going through all of the different aquariums. The eels are one of my favorite displays here, which is in the Dig. There's about 7 of these huge long moray eels. I don't know guys, but these things just scare the hell out of me, even when I'm looking on the other side of the glass. And very intriguing were these giant grouper. I think they've got to be 40 or 50 years old, but they're as big as they look in this picture. I shot it with my iPhone, but this grouper here is about 5 or 6 feet long. It's the size of a person, and there's 2 or 3 of them in this tank, and they're just the most incredible looking creatures ever. So the reason that we're showing you guys as much of this video as we can is to just give you an appreciation of why we like to have a play date here at Atlantis, where we don't really have any boating activities, where we have at least a full day to enjoy all that Atlantis has to offer. And it looks like Tyler just got bored this afternoon here when it rained and decided to walk around the property, which kind of turned out to be a good time to do it because there really was nobody around whatsoever. You can see the raindrops falling on the lagoon here, and another species of stingray or eagle ray that I've never seen before because they're brown. But again, Atlantis just has so much to offer. A nice shot from the drone. You know, Tyler's got enough content here to build like an Atlantis commercial, I think. But he really has done a great job of flying the drone and getting some spectacular imagery to really help you appreciate what a dynamic resort this is and why people just keep coming back here year after year. Not to mention the beautiful decor inside and near the casinos, these Swarovski crystal chandeliers that are probably $250,000 or more each. There are several of them throughout the casino and a lot of entertainment at all times. Of course, while we were there, it was mid-June, and we decided that we wanted to go find a sports bar so we could watch the Florida Panthers in the NHL playoffs against the Edmonton Oilers. And lo and behold, we found the game. And yes, indeed, the Panthers did win and later took on that Stanley Cup championships, the first time they've won the Stanley Cup. And as we wind down day 4, I can't think of a better place than here in the marina with all these beautiful yachts all lined up in the Marina Village. Lots of great restaurants down here. My favorite place to hang out at Atlantis. Day 5 now as we wake up, and what looks to be a fairly nice day and favorable weather is really not the case. Actually, to the east of Nassau, we have a lot of rain and some heavy winds coming in this afternoon, so we had to scratch the trip to Spanish Wells, which is about 50 miles each way, and it can make for a pretty big day trip. We've been caught there a couple of times going and getting caught in some bad weather, and it really doesn't make for the best day. So we are going to hang out at Atlantis a little longer this morning and just wait for the weather to clear and have as much fun as we can. You can see that it is raining, but still a lot of us managing to get into the water park. And I think today's plan is to get into the Rapids water park, and that's go down this lazy river, which isn't so lazy. When you hit the rapids, it hauls ass, but it's a lot of fun for everybody. We've got Tyler joining in with the Liardi team on the 38 cigarette, and a whole bunch of us joined in to get some tube time here in the water park in the morning hours, and we're going to cross our fingers and hope that the weather clears a little bit later in the day, and we'll at least get out on the boats for a little ride. We're not going to go to Spanish Wells, but we're going to go and do something out with the boats this afternoon. But meanwhile, let's have some fun in the Rapids water park.
God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Holy shit. Holy moly. Oh my God. Holy shit.
Well, that was a lot of fun in the water park, and we learned two things from this. One is that, first of all, Tyler is really good on the camera, no matter where he is, and secondly, he screams like his mother. But the good news is the weather is clearing, so it's time to get back on the boats for a little fun run this afternoon. I'm not going to make it to Spanish Wells, but we do have a little trick up in our back pocket, and that's called Rose Island. And it's a nearby island that only takes about 15 or 20 minutes to get to. So we have enlisted the support of Captain Jordan Lampkin. I'm not sure whose boat he's riding on, but we'll see him a little later. But Jordan and his crew jumped on board and took us out to Rose Island. It's an easy ride to get there, but it's a nice, soft, sandy beach. with a lot of activities nearby. Footprints is the popular little bar there, kind of a rustic tiki bar in the sand. And there's a few other neat places, as well as a couple of Pig Beach experiences. So we got the boats in close to the beach and anchored up, and we made the afternoon a success. Well, guys, here's a little piece of paradise. Once again, Rose Island, not too far from Atlantis, but you can see how everybody has made the best of it with anchoring in the soft sand and turning the boats to the beach. Of course, you need a second anchor to be able to do that, but you can see that everyone has done that successfully. So when you're planning the Bahamas, make sure you've got that second side anchor that you can throw it out. And this is the perfect setup. We had a great time here. A little short, but sweet, and certainly worth the effort. Wrapping up the afternoon wrapped up beach party. Going to be heading back to Atlantis now, on board again with this Nortec 390 Team Bad Dog with Eric Ducrot at the helm. And just a recap on that fun run. So this is the quickest, easiest place to go if you just want to break away from Atlantis and find a nice beach to go to. Rose Island will always get you what you want there. But if you have more time and you want to go a little farther, generally speaking, Eleuthera is the closest place you can go to the east, to the northeast of Atlantis, where you'll find Spanish Wells and Royal Island, where the swings are. Spanish Wells has the Wreckers Bar. We've gone there for lunch numerous times. And, of course, they have the Pig Beach, which is, I think, one of the best Pig Beach experiences. So that's about 50 miles northeast of Nassau. And the most popular destination in that area is Harbor Island. So the good news is that for the 2025 edition of the Bahamas Poker Run, we're going to be leaving Atlantis and going to Harbor Island for a 2-night stay. I think everyone's going to love that addition to our agenda. So we've got that planned for the June Bahamas Poker Run, as well as for the August Nortec Invitational Bahamas Run. So excited to be going all the way to Harbor Island. So we have got the boats put away for the night, and fast forward a couple of hours, we're now in Nassau, about a 15-minute cab ride from the dockmaster's office at the Atlantis Resort, and we're in Old Nassau now, and we're actually in behind the Parliament buildings at a very historic landmark called the Grey Cliff Hotel. It's a restaurant as well, and the Grey Cliff has been there for over 200 years. And it was the namesake is Lord Greycliff, who, believe it or not, was a buccaneer, a pirate of sorts, way back in the day. And there's a lot of storied past here, some crazy stories about the Greycliff, often being a place where a lot of pirates were held, or a lot of prisoners were held down in the basement and later taken out to sea as pirates. But it's a big celebration tonight. We've got a birthday. That's right. It's Kyle Fowler's birthday as we enjoy dinner at the Grey Cliff. Fantastic menu, great food, but it is their wine cellar that is perhaps the biggest attraction here at the Grey Cliff. They have the most elaborate collection of wine that is a world-famous collection with thousands and thousands of bottles of wine, many of them spanning not only decades but centuries. They have some 150, 200-year-old bottles of wine here, and they allow people to come down and do tours of the cellar, very carefully, I might add, and you can even rent a dinner room here. They have a private dining room. I believe will seat up to 12 people, and you can actually have your dinner served in that private room. So for those of you who like to plan ahead, that's something we can plan for the next Bahamas trip. So that will pretty much wrap up day 5 of the adventure, which we spent a lot of time here at Atlantis. And with these nighttime drone shots, you really get an idea of just how beautiful the resort is, looking straight down on the Royal Tower as we speak. Thanks again to Tyler Jones for spending the extra time getting some fantastic drone video that we've never had before. Now we are headfirst into our final day, day 6, as we continue our journey. This time we're going to be heading back to Fort Lauderdale, and by way of Bimini, of course. So leaving Nassau, going to be crossing the tongue of the ocean across the northwest channel, which is going to be deep water, 8,000, 9,000 feet for the first hour of riding. And then once we get into the Bahama Bank, we're going to be in some 8 to 10 foot water. And so far the conditions are looking pretty favorable for the trip today. Remember, it's about 135, 140 miles to make your way all the way back from Nassau to Bimini. So it's a good 2.5 hour ride for most of us. And generally speaking, having that stopover in Bimini just kind of breaks the trip up nicely. Some of us can use a little more fuel. Most of these Nortex do not need to squirt fuel in Bimini. You know, we all have at least a 300-mile range. Today's mileage altogether is going to be just over 200, maybe 220 miles. So no issues with the range on most of these center console boats. But just nice to ride into Bimini and get off the boat, walk around, have a bite to eat, and grab a little bit more fuel if you need it. But I think that's kind of our standard protocol when making the trip back from Nassau to mainland Florida. And it doesn't hurt to say that it is Monday. So remember, for the same reason that we liked leaving Bimini on Friday, now we're coming back into Bimini on a Monday. So there's not a lot of boats here. Everyone's left. The only thing you have to deal with is the likelihood of there not being any fuel here, because if you do have a busy weekend in Bimini, chances are most of the fuel, which is at one single location, the Blue Water Resort, could be sold out. And you could arrive here in Bimini on a Monday needing gas and you can't get it. So be prepared for that. We do have options. We always call ahead. But it was a nice trip across the Gulf Stream the rest of the way. Thanks to Captain Eric for giving us a wonderful ride on his Nortec 390. Those first generation Mercury Racing 400Rs, L6 models, they didn't skip a beat. The engines ran fantastic. The hull was superb. I think we had a fantastic ride in every which way, and made me kind of excited about getting my new Nortec. Remember, now it's about June and I've got a few more months to wait. Took delivery of my Nortec in October. So thanks to everyone for really coming out to support this event. We had a wonderful adventure, 6 days altogether, 1 night in Fort Lauderdale, 2 nights in Bimini, and 3 nights in Atlantis, and then back home safely. So another wrap here as the Bahamas Poker Run 2024 wraps up. And we are just getting started with this summer Bahamas coverage. Remember, we still have the July Summer Fling. We've got the Concept Owners Run, which was also in July. We also will have the Deep Impact Owners Run, which was early August. And then towards the middle of August, we had the last summer adventure, which was the Northern Bahamas Island Hop, including West End, Grand Bahama Island, Spanish Key, and Hopetown on Elbow Key. So all coming at you guys. So if you love cruising to the Bahamas or you're thinking about it, you've got to stay tuned and watch all these episodes. You'll learn a bunch, and hopefully you'll be able to sign up and join the Florida Powerboat Club on one of these exciting adventures. It's all right here on Florida Powerboat Club's YouTube channel, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you'll get an update every time a new episode is released. Be sure to check out the website at flpowerboat.com for all of the details about upcoming poker run events as well as membership information. You can follow us on Facebook at Florida Powerboat Club and on these Instagram pages. Thanks to all of our viewers for your wonderful comments on our page, and you guys know who you are, and I really do appreciate that. But if you have questions or comments you want to direct to me specifically, please use my personal email at stu@flpowerboat.com. I check that daily, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. We're going to sign off for now. This is Stu Jones along with our producer Ryan McCoy in the Pompano Beach studio. Have fun out there, guys. Be safe on the waterways. Wear your life jackets when the time is right, and always respect your fellow boaters. Bye for now.